Chapter 2, Lesson 3, DNA and Genetics. I'm going to try to be quick on this one too. Just a couple of things we need to talk about. DNA. We've talked about DNA quite a bit in class. It's genetic material. We've talked about how DNA is very complex, and in high school, you're going to learn more about DNA in your biology classes and get down to the structure of DNA. A nucleotide is a molecule made up of a nitrogen base, a sugar, and a phosphate group. These form the ladder structure of the DNA. There's 4 nitrogen bases that bond together and hold it all together. Adenine, cytosine, thymine, and guanine, usually just represented ACTG. A and T always bond together, C and G always bond together. When DNA replicates, it comes apart like a zipper. When this comes apart, as it comes apart, it grabs other loose proteins to replicate itself in exactly the same way, so that you have 2 strands of DNA that are completely identical. We talked about RNA being a type of nucleic acid that carries the code for making proteins from the nucleus to the cytoplasm. Everything's happening in the nucleus and then it goes out. Transcription is the process of making mRNA. mRNA is messenger RNA. So when that messenger RNA that is used as a messenger takes that code, that process of making that mRNA is called transcription. Translation is when that code is taken and a protein is made from it. So they use the code to make the protein. That's translation. Then we talked about mutations. We stuck on mutations for a minute because it's important to know that mutations aren't just X-Men. Mutations are not always bad either. Sometimes they're good, but they can be bad. The main thing to know is that if DNA is mutated, then the entire structure of a trait of an organism can completely change. Mutations can be anything, and we spent some time talking about how if a gene is mutated, if DNA is mutated and it's made wrong, that mitosis keeps happening and cells are still made, more DNA is still made, and if the code is wrong, they just make wrong DNA. It makes more wrong cells that might not function properly. If this happens, let's say you go into the sun and you get a tan, you change your phenotype, you stay in the sun, you get a sunburn, you've changed your phenotype again, but now you've damaged your skin. If you get a lot of sunburns, your body is constantly going in overdrive on mitosis, trying to make more and more skin cells to replace all those ones that you burn up in the sun. If one of those cells happens to be mutated and is just made wrong, sometimes those cells just die off and go away because they can't function. But if it can still function as a cell, it can keep making more copies of itself and keep going through mitosis. And that is cancer. This is why it's so hard to kill cancerous cells in your body, and we go through things like extra radiation, or chemotherapy, which is poison designed to kill those certain cells, but um, it's less precise than we would like and can take a lot of the good cells with the bad cells when you're killing those. Um, this still is talking about mutations, different kinds of genetic disorders that are associated with mutations, DNA mutations. You can look at these. These are on page 68. Take a look at those. I hope this has all been helpful. Love you. Bye.